Welcome into the Jordy Culotta Show here on this Wednesday. We will talk about food coming up here at 7:30. At 8:30 this morning, we'll talk to the Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois coming up, answering your food questions. 7:30, we'll talk to Chris Reid, former LSU baseball player, as he'll stop by here in 30 minutes, give us his thoughts on traveling for this regional as the Tigers set sail for Eugene, Oregon. Got the news yesterday. Landon Marceau going to be the starter. We'll talk to Reid about the team's mentality. It seems like they've been playing pretty loose here going into the regional coming up this weekend as they'll play Gonzaga in game one. We'll talk to Chris Reid about that coming up at 8:30 this morning. We will also talk to Jeff Duncan, who's got an incredible write-up over at The Athletic on the recruitment of Arch Manning and some of the players there and what Arch has been thinking about some of his recruitment coming up and leading into the first summer of official visits and on-campus visits as LSU football had an enormous haul on campus yesterday as LSU had a ton of prospects on 15, including a couple of commitments to the class of 2022 that we'll tell you about. Dan Mullen signs an extension in Gainesville. We will talk to Jeff Duncan, as we said, at 8 o'clock this morning. And the Arik Gilbert situation, finally. Is it over?
I mean, thank goodness.
Is the soap opera of
No,
Gilbert?
I feel like it's not.
It
I
might
feel like
not
it's
be.
one more turn.
Might not be. Gilbert, as we said yesterday, things were trending on him landing in Athens. And it was yesterday that the news became official that he is enrolling into the University of Georgia. He will be in spring football with the Bulldogs coming up here. He will be in fall camp and summer off-season workouts with the Bulldogs leading into next season. So hopefully, from LSU's standpoint, the soap opera and saga of Arik Gilbert is finally over. Remember, every day we're powered by Go Chevrolet, online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. Go Chevrolet, as you can find them online. They've got a brand new location brand new car location in LaPlace, and then used car lot over on Florida and Sherwood as Go Chevrolet. Go Express Auto Sales and Go Chevrolet, GEAUXchevrolet.com. Our coffee is brought to you by Majestic, locally brewed down here in South Louisiana. Get in touch with Majestic Coffee online and through social media. And all of our guests via the phone line are brought to you by Metropolitan Health Group. Metropolitan Health Group, real doctors, real solutions. Get in touch with Charlie Harvey and Jason Ramazan to help you out over there at Metropolitan Health Group.
So if you're a Georgia fan today, I would exercise caution, right? I would still not be very excited.
No,
you have to wait. You have to wait until he's on campus, huh?
But just because they stole him from Florida.
You would think that would be the mindset there, but if Arik Gilbert was from New Orleans and he was coming back to LSU, I would feel very secure that he was home.
Okay.
You know what I mean? If the situation was different and Louisiana was home for him and he was finally here, I would feel like this was had some sense of finality to it. I mean, to me, once this thing started with Gilbert within the regular season last year, I always thought Georgia. I always thought he was going home. Obviously, the storyline back then was that he was homesick. But even talking to some people closer to the situation and inside of the program, that was their feeling as well, even though that the homesick title and diagnosis might be something to just kind of ruse the public with. There was a sense of that, of him wanting to get back closer to home, closer to his mom, closer to his brother. And I think this happens in Athens. I think one thing that looks as if definitely happened is that Georgia played LSU like a fiddle. I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead and get him academically ready. Make sure that everything from an academic standpoint is lined up to what he has to do to become, back in good standing academically, and then let them take on the football worries and concerns.
We got snaked at the bar.
Exactly.
We bought all the drinks,
Yes.
did all the dancing.
And then come to the parking lot, and
she hops in a different
she's sleeping
car
with somebody else.
Damn you, dude.
Yes. But I did all the work.
I'll see you in a couple of years.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
She was in such a good mood.
And
it was revenge from Burrow. That's fair. Have it. Have that one.
Yeah. So the University of Georgia lands Arik Gilbert as yesterday Gilbert the number 1 tight end, the number 6 overall prospect in the class of 2020 in the ESPN 300, is expected to enroll in summer classes at University of Georgia.
You think he'll ever block
later this month? No, I don't, because they've talked to him of playing wide receiver. They have moved him to wide receiver. It seems like, in just following some of the in some of the media and the news, as Gilbert told 247 Sports on Tuesday that he plans to play wide receiver at Georgia. The Bulldog star wide receiver George Pickens tore his ACL in his right knee during spring practice, and his availability for the upcoming season is still very unclear. The SEC still requires that undergrad transfers within the conference to receive a waiver for immediate eligibility to avoid having to sit out this season, but it looks like these issues and this circumstance in particular with the Southeastern Conference is going to be green lit, as many transfers that we've seen in conference. We saw the linebacker from Tennessee.
The previous institution or the SEC? Or
the league office.
Okay.
Yeah, the league office would have to approve that. I would expect that Greg Sankey will make an announcement at SEC Media Days that'll be in the middle of July that all of these waivers, all of these transfers within conference are eligible. All I needed to see was Alabama take an in-conference transfer, and they took the linebacker out of Tennessee, Henry T.O.
Yeah.
And if Saban's taking in-conference transfers and he needs a linebacker immediately on this team, I'll put my life on it and say that they're going to greenlight the SEC in-conference transfers.
I mean, if Sankey doesn't want his door absolutely knocked in after that announcement, if he flips it on SEC Media Day, actually, you'll need to wait about a year for these cats to play. He would have a line out the door of all 12 coaches.
Yes, absolutely. So whatever Saban wants, Saban gets, especially in the Southeastern Conference. So I expect that rule to be green lit as far as in-conference transfers go. But the saga of Arik Gilbert seems like it is finally over from LSU's standpoint. And as we pointed out yesterday, when you look at the selections and the talent at tight end, they have a ton of it, but all of it is unproven. Cole Taylor had 5 catches over the last 2 weeks of the season last year. As we said yesterday, you remember him more for his shoe than you do his production. That was his shoe that went flying across the swamp in that Gainesville night that gave LSU an opportunity to win that game. And then he played well against Ole Miss in the regular season finale, and he'll come back with the most catches of any tight end. And as far as production goes on LSU's roster, I think that was the major emphasis from a football standpoint of trying to get Arik Gilbert back into the fold was, just bringing his experience and his pass catching back, because LSU just does not have that on the roster. Once you get past Cole Taylor, you're talking about names like Nick Storrs, who played baseball at LSU, started his career at LSU on a baseball scholarship. He's got talent. If you turn on the film, he's a very good football player. It's just unproven. And then you're talking about a guy like Devonta Lee, who is out of Amite and is another unproven, very talented guy that has experienced a couple of position moves for LSU and is expected to go through this fall at tight end. So we'll see where and how that translates for Devonta Lee with LSU going into the season. But the tight end role for LSU will be without Arik Gilbert, which I know a lot of people had expectation on that he was going to be the guy going into the season. And then a wild card to watch at that position would be Jack Besh. I just think that Besh is versatile enough to do a couple of different things, and I think that the tight end role in this LSU offense will go back to a pass catching primarily weapon. I think last year it was more of a pro style tight end blocking type of assignment, some pass catching in the flat routes, but I would look to the tight end fill more of a role than more comparable to what Thaddeus Moss did a couple of years back for LSU 2 years ago during the 2019 run, where the tight end was a was an option every play and an option down the field, is probably going to be more of what this looks like than compared to last season. So I imagine that the tight end will see a very much an expanded role under Peets and Mangus.
Do you think LSU was actually ever in play with Gilbert, or was it just we were getting played from the jump? Like, because that was through everything that I had heard and we had heard, it was because he's taking classes with LSU, we thought he was coming back to campus.
Yeah, no, I think they got played.
Yeah.
No, I think that they got played by Kirby Smart, University of Georgia. I think that this deal has probably been done since the Florida stuff, as far as just trying to push to get him home. I know that his mom has been very instrumental in all of the communication and everything that's going on with him. So, you know, it seems like probably to get him closer to home has been probably the best option for the Gilberts, for the family. And I'd imagine that this is, you know, it didn't happen over the last 72 hours.
Right, because there's a lot of talk in the chat of, you know, bag dropped or whatever. But I think that this has kind of been the plan since he left. Like you said, since he left, he never came back to Baton Rouge, did he? Did he ever visit?
He came back for a couple of weeks. He was here, but then he was gone. But I thought that the telltale sign was that he was not on campus a week ago when everybody reported, right? I mean,
he's taking classes.
Even if there was an anticipation to get him back onto the roster, you would imagine that he would have reported with everyone else. And when there were rumors and talks of him not being around, I thought to myself, he's not coming back to LSU.
And yeah, the longer you stay at home, the easier it is to stay at home too. You're like, I don't really want to make that trip.
Well, I mean, if the offseason began for LSU football yesterday. You know, I mean, they began workouts, they began summer classes, they began everything that you're responsible for being a student athlete from a football player standpoint at LSU began on June 1st. So for Arik Gilbert to miss more time and do that with the excuse of staying home and trying to get everything straight at LSU,
you're good.
You're all good. You know what I mean? Your classes are lined up. You know what you have to do academically. You know the challenges it's going to take to get back on the field. You got to start that process. I mean, you got to get to Baton Rouge, get in classes, and get in the off-season program. And you know, it's just when I found out that he wasn't here and there was still in communication on when that was going to happen, I was thinking, it's not going to happen. I mean, there's something else. There's just too much out there, and he's too good of a football player at the end of the day for somebody not to have a plan figured out for him.
I'm sorry to ask you all these questions. I don't know if you know the answer or not, but did he take classes at LSU? Like, has he started the LSU, or is he going to do it at Georgia?
No, he was not enrolled in summer classes. He was enrolled in spring classes, and that he was handling off campus, obviously through a digital method that was, you know, keeping his eligibility
afloat,
you know, to where it is now. I mean, from all reports that I've heard, he needs 6 hours this summer to be back on track academically to be eligible to play sports. Now they're only waiting on the transfer approval from the SEC, which, you know, like I said, I expect that to happen. It's probably been agreed upon behind closed doors, just not publicly yet, in granting that access to one-time transfers within the conference. So Arik Gilbert off to UGA, official yesterday. 247 Sports had it first as Gilbert going to be staying closer to home after one season at LSU, after a short commitment and stay at the University of Florida. He gets out of there, and now he's back home, closer to home in Athens, playing for the Bulldogs.
Poor Florida fans are like, we got the next Kyle Pitts, and he goes to Georgia.
He might be. You know, that is why you see so many people dealing with Gilbert in his situation, is because they want the football player. They want the opportunity to put him on the field, and he makes your team, if he's right, tremendously better on the offensive side.
And Florida makes more sense just from a purely football perspective because, like you said, how they used Pitts, that's the blueprint for him. And I don't know if Georgia has that in their offensive DNA. Like everything that, like we talked about this yesterday.
Packs.
Yeah, with the tight end, they already had a 5-star tight end on campus, and he touched the ball less than Arik Gilbert did at LSU last year. So I don't know I guess the only appeal is coming home.
Yeah.
And then they
wide receiver.
Yeah, they say wide receiver, but I mean, you don't really know what that means at Georgia. Like Pickens was their best weapon.
Well, he's out.
And he's out. And so now he becomes obviously their number one. And it's going to get keyed on all game.
Yeah.
But if he just wants to split out, then good on you if that's what you want. We'd have done the same thing.
Pickens got hurt in the regular season, or he got hurt in the offseason?
Offseason.
Yeah,
He got off-season. Yeah. So he'll miss all of next year?
I would imagine the ACL.
ACL,
yeah. Expected to. I mean,
they make a deep run, then he comes back for the playoff.
Sure.
That gives Arik a role, though. If he wants to play receiver and Pickens,
he'd have a role on a baseball team. I mean, he'd put that cat anywhere.
He gets the role he wants.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of like scarred. He don't want to play tight end because he don't want to block anybody ever again.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure all the promises were made in recruiting. I mean, whatever you want to hear, we'll tell you.
He's heard the same thing from 3 different schools.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So I think that hopefully just from LSU standpoint, like we said yesterday, I mean, it's over. I mean, you did a great job of recruiting Gilbert and getting him onto campus. When he got here, there was a change in personnel and change in coaches, and things didn't work out the way that you may have seen it going in recruiting. And it's a loss for LSU at the end of the day when you talk about the football player, but you probably gain a lot of chemistry in the locker room and a lot less headaches in the coaches in the administration building. Just because of the work that you've done for Gilbert and trying to get him right and get him on the field. Now he's Georgia's problem. But in the same sense of the way that it could have worked out at LSU, if it does get right, potentially he's a top 5 draft pick. I mean, Kyle Pitts was the number 4 overall pick in last season's in this most current NFL draft. Gilbert, by all accounts, is a better prospect than Pitts was coming out of high school. Whatever that may mean doesn't translate to where he'll be drafted in the NFL, but you would think after those types of accolades and after that type of attention that a 3-year escalation of just improving that game will have him right around a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Gilbert, the potential and the ceiling of him is really unfathomable to think about what he could be just because of the way that the game of football is played today and the way that you utilize a tight end. And I think if you were to sketch that position or that prototype, you would probably come close to sketching what Arik Gilbert looks like. I mean, can you think of anybody, and I don't mean this, by only saying the prospect and what he look. Have you seen anybody that looks as good as him in a football uniform?
Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson,
Patrick Peterson, maybe.
Right.
People saying he was NFL, like the NFL size in high school.
I'll never forget. Joe Brady and I were sitting in Phil's Oyster Bar the day after he committed. T-Bob and I are sitting in the back room at Phil's Oyster Bar, and this is the week of the Auburn game last year, and that was the week that Arik committed to LSU.
From the clouds.
From the clouds, like out of nowhere. And I remember asking Brady at the table that day if Gilbert can play next year. Like, could he play as a freshman? And he was like either in the middle of a bite or in the middle of a sip and like backed away from it and was like, Culotta, if he was here this weekend, we'd be working him into the game plan against Auburn. You know what I mean? Like, he is a game changer.
Bona fide freak.
He is the freak that we have all seen in the recruiting office. He's the standout. He's the guy that stands out from the rest of them. He doesn't look like he's in high school. He doesn't look like he's supposed to be in college. I mean, he showed up looking like a pro. Physically.
And if you want to comp on the size, like we all look at Jack Besh and we see his size. We're like, oh man, he's a freshman coming in at what, 6'2", 210 maybe. I mean, Arik Gilbert's 6'5", 250. That's the difference between like coming in and being ready to play as a freshman, and we're saying Besh is ready to play right now. But I mean, if you think of it, that's 3 inches and 30 pounds of a guy that's just absolutely
a lot of force.
Yes. So I mean, that's the difference, and I think Besh can fill that role in terms of like a split out pass catcher. But I mean, the size difference is, like you said, that's an NFL player.
Yes, he is an NFL player, and if you turn on his high school highlights, I mean, he's as good as a football player as you will find. I mean, he is just catch, run after the catch,
ball skills,
explosive athleticism, size, speed. He checks nearly every box. I mean, and I don't have to tell anybody that's watching or as an LSU fan, that we've all seen him play and understand what the potential and the ceiling is for him. Even in an offense that was not suited to him. I mean, he was still very much of a challenge to guard, and he was very much the center of many offensive game plans going into last season and just trying to find ways to use him. I mean, I still remember watching him drop that pass down the seam against Missouri where, I mean, he's still running if he catches that ball.
Yep.
You know, I mean, they were still trying to use him down the field and stretch the field opportunities, but it just didn't work out. You know, I mean, the 2020 edition of LSU football hopefully is looked back on in history as, you know, just a very much of an outlying season.
Mulligan.
Yes.
Yes.
A asterisk, a mulligan,
Forget about it.
exactly. Just flush it and move on. And one thing that can do that is recruiting. And LSU had a massive haul on campus yesterday.
3 5-stars, right?
3 5-stars. The campus opened up, and as did college football from a recruiting standpoint, as LSU was welcoming in as many as 15 prospects on campus. And as Jack said, many of those very highly regarded. They had a couple of commitments on campus. 3 of the 5 stars that you had. Jacoby Matthews was on campus. He's an LSU. He is an LSU commitment. LaTerrence Welch, who is a defensive back, is also an LSU commitment. But they had 15 names to get on campus, and they have the camp circuit that's about to start popping. So college football is really getting back to normalcy. I mean, it really feels like college football is back to as close of a normal of a schedule as we experienced just 2 years ago with recruiting, with on-campus visits, and with everything that goes into that. There was a great write-up over at The Athletic centered around Arch Manning and his recruitment and about where he stands going in to his junior season. Jeff Duncan is the author of that piece and will stop by here at 8 a.m. this morning to give us a little insight on some of the schools, some of the names, some of the coaches that have really made an impact on the Manning. Duncan is close to the Mannings. He's close to the Manning Passing Academy. He's close to Nelson Stewart, who's the head coach down at Newman. So the access for this article is outstanding as Duncan dives into Arch Manning's recruitment and where everybody stands. And we will talk to Duncan about that in 30 minutes. Remember, daily, we are brought to you by Edward Jones, our financial advisor here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Get in touch with Daniel Newman. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com is how you get in touch with Newman. He can help you out today with your 401k, with your Social Security, with all of your investment ideas that you may have. And if you just need some direction, if you just need some guidance, quite frankly, like we did when we rolled over the 401k to Edward Jones and Daniel Newman. Very easy process to get involved with Newman. Online, Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com is how you get in touch with Daniel Newman today over at Edward Jones and let him answer all of your financial needs, your questions, anything that you may have. If you're working down at the plants here in South Louisiana or anywhere in the country, if you are a plant worker and have some questions about your financial stability and what the history or where maybe the future could look like, let Daniel Newman help you out today. Daniel.Newman@edwardjones.com. LSU baseball off to Eugene, Oregon. Landon Marceau going to go game 1. Chris Reid is going to stop in here, give us some of his thoughts of traveling for a regional, as he's got some experience doing that, and just what this time of the year feels like for a college baseball player. Chris Reid coming up next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy@JordyCulottashow.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy@JordyCulottashow.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485 8022 225 485. 8022 is where you can find Hebert's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com. Welcome back into a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll answer your food questions an hour from now. Remember, Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois stopping by in 1 hour, answering your food questions. If you have any, get inside of the bunker. We'll get them asked and answered here at 8:30 from our resident chef. Recruiting story to watch in baseball. This guy, how about from out of your neck of the woods, Jack? Frank Mazzucato, good Italian young man,
boy.
up there in Manchester, Connecticut. 4 straight no-hitters.
Oh, he plays at East Catholic High School.
I mean,
What's the competition like over there? They're swinging swords or what?
Playing my high school.
I don't know what that means.
Swinging swords.
Yeah, eating mayonnaise.
this cat is 4 straight no-hitters in a row. He was the number 51 rated prospect by MLB's draft rankings going into this season. I'd imagine that has catapulted over the last couple of weeks. But LSU baseball right now in the news, obviously, as the Tigers will take off to Eugene, Oregon. They'll face Gonzaga in Game 1 on Friday night. Our resident baseball expert is former standout St. Michael and LSU dirtbagger Chris Reid, as he stops by here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, he can help you out if you're looking for one-on-one training here in South Louisiana for your youngster who's a baseball player, or you think he's a baseball player. Let Chris Reid refine those skills for you. He's easy to find on social media. He'll probably give you his cell number before he gets out of here. You can get in touch with him, call him, text him, and get on the diamond and get your kids swinging it and fielding it a lot better and working one-on-one with Chris Reid. Good morning, man. How are you?
Doing great.
You still feeling it? Did you celebrate with the boys?
Say that again.
Do you feel it? You got a little headache? You still feeling it from the celebration?
Sounds like a little slow.
Yeah, right, a little slow this morning.
No, we're good. We're good. I actually ended up waking up and having to clean up the house and whatnot after the celebration. So we ended up having about 25 people over, and we even had
got a banger of a headache right now.
we had a birthday party in the crowd too. So
wow.
I got to celebrate birthday as well, and ended up celebrating our troops and the freedoms and everything. So it was a good time.
Every crew needs a responsible one, somebody that wakes up and cleans up the party. Good to hear that Reid is the guy for his crew.
The old head, dude.
Absolutely. What was the first reaction you had when your college coach decided to hang it up after 15 seasons in Baton Rouge? Maneri made the announcement going into the weekend that this was going to be the last for him. From somebody in that LSU baseball Paul Maneri fraternity, what was your reaction?
I wasn't too surprised at the announcement. It is I wouldn't say a long time coming, but it's nice to see him have some relief to his pain and the things he's had to dealt with over the last deal with over the last 3 to 4 years. A lot of people didn't know about the neck surgeries and the pain that he's been going through, and he had kind of alluded to how much pressure he puts on himself to win games and to perform up to the LSU standard. And that's another thing. I know a lot of people rag him for, wins and losses and coaching, decisions and whatnot. But there's not one person at that stadium or possibly in the entire athletic department that puts more pressure on themselves to do their job and to do their job well and to make sure that they're performing at the level that is deemed necessary. So, a little part of me is happy that he can kind of relax and step back from a little bit, but another part of me is pretty sad because I know how much baseball means to him. And it's been his life, like he said. So, happy and sad at the same time. It would be a good description of it.
You had a unique experience at LSU, and you had a unique experience with him. What does he do best? What makes him a Hall of Famer?
Well, first off, you can't deny the wins. He knows how to win. He knows how to coach. He's done it for a long time. He has a proven track record. He does very well with the day-to-day operations of the team and the organization. His attention to detail would probably be his biggest thing for me that I saw. I'd never seen anybody that paid attention to the details like he had before, and so as a kid coming out of high school to college, most of the time you're not super detail oriented, and it was a wake up call, really. It was something that you saw and you were like, dang, that may be how it's supposed to be done, or that is how it's supposed to be done, and I'm not doing that. So, it was a good little, a good role model for you to have when you get in there, and you can kind of take some stuff away from what he does. But he's a good guy too. Regardless of what happened, he's still a good guy. He loves his players. He'll fight for them. And, just a good overall guy, a good coach.
What did you make of the draw? LSU heading out to Eugene. They will be featured on Friday night versus Gonzaga. You have traveled away from Baton Rouge for a regional. That is not something that LSU is used to doing, but has done under his guidance. What is this time of the year like when you're not playing at the box?
Well, obviously there's kind of a letdown that you're not playing at the box, but I think it was understood already for probably the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season that we weren't going to be hosting. So I think that ship sailed for the players. Traveling, and specifically to the state of Oregon, because we went to Oregon State.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was a very bad place to play baseball for us. It was very wet, just kind of a little like
depressing.
Yeah, it's like a gross, musty atmosphere there, and it was. We're used to hot, humid weather, but we're used to the sun being out. It was super cloudy. Sun never really made it out. And, their people did like baseball though, so they support them pretty well. But you don't. That's a far travel. They're probably going to fly into somewhere around. Probably go fly to Denver, and then from Denver to Oregon. It's you get off the plane, your legs don't work. Right off the bat, you got to get jet lag out of the system and whatnot. So they'll probably get there a couple of days earlier than normal, and you got to piece it together. That's really what it comes down to now. I know they're throwing Marceau first game, and they're going to try to make a statement with him and really show the teams in the regional that they're here to win it. And I think they will.
With it being Paul's last year and his last go-around, does that loosen up the boys a little bit, or does it put more pressure on them? Because I feel like they seem like to be a little loose. You go to a place you haven't gone to before in Oregon in terms of playing at, I guess, in Autzen is what I want to call it. But does it kind of loosen the boys up a little bit, not having Paul like on his P's and Q's exactly?
Yeah, it should. Look, when your coach is going out, I was telling this to somebody the other day. It's basically house money at this point.
Right.
Whatever happens. if they go in there and win, they win. That's great. They get to keep playing. If they don't, it is what it is. I don't think that this team necessarily is going to put more pressure on themselves. I think the task at hand is still to win, regardless of what's going on around you. So you got to block out that. I'm sure the media will probably try to play that tune, and you got to block that out and just play the game one out at a time, one pitch at a time, and do your job to the best of your abilities, and hopefully you win.
Follow up to that, is there like a loose version of Paul we don't see often? Is there like two different Paul Maneri's, that there's like the stern Paul and then like kind of put your hat on backwards Paul?
Yeah, no hat on backwards Paul.
Unless we're rallying, dude.
No. It's that's one of his no-nos is backwards hats on a baseball field. There is a relaxed Paul Maneri. Usually he'll be dancing. He has some dance moves, and usually it's obviously it's usually when we're doing well and things are going well, and he's out there pitching to the guys for batting practice, and probably he'll try to start dominating them once he gets all happy and whatnot. He'll start throwing really hard and trying to get people out.
Work a cutter in there.
No. Oh my! You were preaching to the choir. He will throw just random cutters or just a random slider here or there, just to prove to the hitter that he can that he can still beat you.
He's standing 30 feet away though, dude.
Yeah, 30 feet away at 65 miles an hour too. He'll try to hum it in there. Still has an arm.
What did you make of Landon Marceau getting the nod?
Yeah, that's just them trying to make a statement. I was very iffy about that. I've been talking with some people trying to figure out exactly, what we think they should do. But it boils down to the fact that you can't risk not pitching him in that first game. If you end up losing that game and you don't pitch him, it looks really, really bad in terms of coaching decisions. So, that's not really too a surprise to me. I think they're just going to make a statement, and I see him going out there and being very successful, definitely with the long rest they had.
You were obviously with the boys last night. What's like the overall team mentality with it being paused last year, and how do they feel about all this?
Well, they're fired up. Still, like I said, kind of at the opportunity that they have in hand, and that adds a little bit more, I guess, energy, or it adds a little bit more emphasis behind the fact that you want to win or they need to win. But at the same time, look, they do a great job at managing pressure and expectations and things like that. So I don't think it'll boil over into any nervousness or anything like that. But they're overall excited for him, and they're obviously sad that the person that recruited them is now not going to be there. But kind of like to relate what Paul said is they have all the faith in the world of Scott Woodward. They know what his MO is. They know what his track record is in hiring coaches, and so they're excited to see what they end up bringing in after the season does conclude.
What does Giovanni DiGiacomo do for the lineup and do for the morale of this team? It seems like he makes them a click or two better.
Yeah, I mean, look, anytime you have a guy in the lineup that can run like that, and definitely for the outfield as well, the job he does out there, I mean, overall it gives your team a boost. His hitting, if he can get his hitting, right back on track, get back to the key on that, he's going to make this lineup a lot more solidified would be what I would go after. I see them, you're able to plug him in, and he's another weapon that you can put in, towards the leadoff spot. Could be a secondary leadoff man if you put him in the 9-hole. Or you can throw him in there around 6, 7 and let him kind of get in between some of those big boppers and get guys on base. So it'll be interesting to see. I think he can glue the lineup together, and hopefully him and Gavin Dugas are back 100%, give what they need to give to the lineup.
What would you do at second base? I mean, not that you're you're making the decision. But when you look at the options that they have there, do you have a guy that's consistently the day in guy that you would just go ahead and give the nod to?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, over the last 3 weeks, hard not to say Bianco.
Mm-hmm.
His defense, he's playing great defense, and he's starting to hit the ball again. So I know he's kind of a hot hand. And then you honestly got to look at Arnold. Arnold's one of those guys that I thought over the last month or two maybe could have played a little bit more. But I would give the nod to one of those two guys. I feel like those two are kind of separated themselves in the second baseman in that little position there. So, but if I'm not mistaken, I did see somewhere or heard from somebody that the first pitcher that we're facing with Gonzaga apparently pitches very well to right-handed hitters.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, dude, he's greasing up the ball. He's got lacquer all over his hands.
Yeah, I did hear that he did cheat in a game or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what Paul does with the lineup and who he throws over there. I know Sam Stafford or whatever is over there as well. So I'm sure he has something up his sleeve ready for us.
Have you ever been in a situation like that where you knew the pitcher was obviously greasing the wheels a little bit over there on the bump, and you're like, dude, this guy, he can't be throwing like this naturally?
Yeah, I mean, every now and then you'll see a pitcher with a pitch, and you walk back into the dugout, and you're going, I literally don't know how I'm going to hit that pitch. That's usually an indicator that they have a substance on their hands. It's happened once or twice. We kind of picked up on it, but at the same time, most of the time there's substance on their fingers or so that they have a better grip for the ball. And when you have a guy throwing 98 or 97, whatever it may be, you kind of want them to have the best grip that they can have on the ball, so they don't potentially kill you. And you take the fact that it may make their curveball a little bit better, but they may throw their fastball straighter. So, it's give or take there.
Oh, it's fair in love and war.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have one group that says if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So, however you take that.
How do you feel about LSU going into the weekend?
I'm pretty confident right now. I saw LSU plus, I think, 5,000 to win the College World Series right now. It's on my betting sites, and if I had a bet on a team winning that regional, I honestly would bet on LSU to win that regional. They got a good draw. Oregon, I think the Pac-12, wherever they are now, I don't really respect
clearly
that. Yeah, that baseball. I don't think they're baseball except for Oregon State usually. It's just a different kind of baseball. They have different baseball players up there, and I just feel like with us, being bred in the SEC and down south, I just feel like the competition we play here day in, day out just sets us up better than anybody else in that regional. So it'll be a fun one. I got LSU coming out of the region.
Real quick, Reid, give me an insight on Aaron Nola. He got his 1,000th career strikeout last night in just his 6th MLB season. Many people around the program compare him to Ben McDonald on just how dominant Nola is. I know that you're around his age and we're around LSU when he's been around there. How good is he, and what are the expectations from a peer like his on what he can accomplish at the highest level?
Yeah, I remember when I was getting, I guess, like recruited or whatnot by Catholic High, if that's what you want to call it. By Catholic High, whenever I was in middle school, and one of my friend's brothers was the second pitcher to Aaron Nola at Catholic, and so they invited us to go to a game and to go watch. And Aaron Nola was throwing, and I didn't really even know who this dude was, but I just remember being in awe and watching a high school game and how good he was. And then obviously when I was in high school, he was at LSU, and being a fan, I mean, it was insane. He had a guy throwing 97 as like a freshman sophomore in college with the pitches that he had and the poise that he had. It's very, very rare to see a guy have those, that repertoire and pitching and have that, and that poise in a game. So, look, the sky's the limit for him. We knew he was going to be really good. And he's as good as he is, he's probably even a better guy.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to, talk to him and hang out with him a little bit over my years off at LSU, and just an absolute down-to-earth guy, super nice, always took time out while he was at the field to come hang out, talk to us about stuff. Look, I won't be surprised if his pro career will probably end up being better than Finn. But I mean, I see 4,000, probably 4,000 strikeouts in his career if he doesn't run into the elbow surgery. I feel like he's a guy that could go till he's 45, 40, whatever it may be. He
Jimmy
can play
Moyer.
for a long time. Yeah, he can end up playing for a long time. His arm slot's pretty repeatable. He's not a high effort guy. Biomechanics as a pitcher are really, really, really good, and I just feel like he has in the tank where he could go for a good amount of years, get a lot of strikeouts. So,
Chris Reid, our guy, man, he is here talking LSU baseball. You will hear him again, especially if the Tigers move on from this weekend in Eugene. You can follow him on Twitter at Chris Reid 1212 and slide in the DMs. The DMs are open. We tell you about how he can help you out in making your youth league player a better baseball player with one-on-one training. Find out more on his social media, Chris Reid 1212. You can follow him there on Twitter and hear him here talking and breaking down LSU baseball here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Thank you as always, man. Enjoy the day.
No problem. You too. Catch you later.
All right, man. There is Chris Reid checking in here this morning. Is that conversation brought to you by Falaya Real Estate. Remember, you can get in touch with Barrett Blondo and the pros over at Falaya as they want to sell your house and they want to help you do it by yourself. You can save thousands. It's do it yourself for selling your house. Welcome to Empowered Real Estate from our friends over at Falaya, online at falaya.com. You can find them inside of your Apple and Google app stores. You can also find them online at falaya.com. You can call Barrett Blondo this morning about getting your listing up, 225-939-6153. That's a 225 area code, 939-6153. Everything has changed around us. Isn't it time? Technology has made buying and selling a house much easier for you. This is what Falaya is, online at falaya.com. 225-939-6153. When we come back, we'll talk to Jeff Duncan. Duncan is from The Athletic. He's got a great write-up on the recruiting of Arch Manning, the quarterback for 2023, one of the top recruits in the country. Where does LSU stand, and how wild is this recruiting early on? Jeff Duncan will break that down next for us here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, jordy@jordyculotta.show.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. jordy@jordyculotta.show.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, live and presented by Go Chevrolet every single day here on this Wednesday edition as we were talking recruiting in hour one. Appreciate Chris Reid for stopping by, talking some LSU baseball as the Tigers are setting off to Eugene, Oregon for their spot in the regional over there with Gonzaga will be the opening game as they're heading to the Oregon Regional out in Eugene. LSU will play 9 p.m. on Friday night here on Central Standard Time. We were also talking recruiting in hour one, and things are getting wild as far as recruiting goes because things are getting back to normal. Yesterday was the lifting of the dead period in college football, which means that schools and coaches were able to reach out and contact recruits. Recruits were able to get on campus to schools. LSU had 15 high-quality prospects on their campus this past weekend. Everybody trying to get a visit from Arch Manning, as this will be the summer that Manning really kind of gets out and sees some schools. He'll be traveling for the entire month of June, stopping in on college campuses, going to football camps, and as expected, this Arch Manning recruitment is going to interest and intrigue everybody. Jeff Duncan, who is a good friend of our show, who is over at The Athletic, has a fascinating, in-depth write-up on where the recruitment stands as of today, a lot of the players within that recruitment, a lot of the people who are the gatekeepers. There seems to be one gatekeeper, but some of the guys and some of the people around Arch and helping make that decision. I would advise you to subscribe to The Athletic, and your first stop would be to Jeff Duncan's piece on Arch Manning titled "The Courting of Arch Manning," with a quote from Manning saying, "I'm wide open going into this summer." Jeff is here with us this morning, talking a little bit about that and everything. As always, as we'd like to dive into the city of New Orleans, as he is a great historian and a great resource for us as he joins us here on this Wednesday morning. Jeff, good morning. How are you?
Doing great, Jordy. Hard to be doing bad these days. A lot of good things to be looking forward to.
Amen. Amen. A sunshiny summer day in South Louisiana that looks like things getting back to normal around college football and live music starting to happen within the city. I was in the French Quarter over the weekend and just could not get over the amount of traffic, both foot and cars, bikes, everybody just moving around. It feels like the city is getting back to normal. One of the big players within the city in high school football is obviously Newman High School. They are very used to success, as they have seen many players come and go, but it looks like they've got one that may be uncomparable when you talk about Arch Manning. Within the city, what is the feeling and the feels around Arch Manning as he enters his junior year?
Well, obviously the Manning name alone, Jordy, brings such star power to Arch. I mean, everyone in uptown New Orleans, a very close-knit, insular community, and everyone has known about Arch Manning since his grade school days. I mean, he's one of these kids that was dominating in the little leagues and soccer fields in the 5th and 6th grade. You know, his athletic prowess is well known. So everyone was anticipating what that would translate to once he got to Newman and started playing football. He showed, innate leadership skills at a young age, and he's carried that over to Newman. So he really, the off-field intangibles that you expect with the Mannings are there. His study habits, all these things, the intelligence level. So it was just a matter of what's he going to develop physically, and he has sprouted up here in the last year and a half or so to about, I think he's about 6'3.5", 6'4", over 200 pounds. He's been weight training with a personal trainer. So that has come along as well. And when you can converge the physical and mental skills with all of the natural resources that he can call on by being the nephew and grandson and son of football royalty. I mean, it's really just a complete package. And I don't think we've ever seen a quarterback come along with all of this in one package. There's no one that can call on the lineage of Archie Manning, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning in really college football history.
Do you remember the first time you saw him, and what was your impressions? What are your impressions of a young Arch Manning?
Yeah, I really do. I went to a bunch of games his freshman year, and the thing that strikes you when you watch him play right away is he's very athletic. He has got Cooper's genes in him. Obviously, his father was a tremendous wide receiver, signed with Ole Miss as a receiver, could dunk a basketball backwards. I mean, very athletic, very much like his grandfather. I mean, old school people will remember Archie was a tremendous athlete, great scrambler and runner. That is what strikes you when you watch Arch. I mean, he's not like Peyton and Eli, who was more of a pocket quarterback, stationary guy. Arch can get around, move outside the pocket. He's more of the modern quarterback that we see today. And then he's got a tremendous arm and is just so poised, much like Eli. Doesn't show hardly any emotion on the field. Very advanced in that way, in command of the offense. Really just looks like a can't-miss prospect, Jordy. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but It's hard to find fault in any part of his game.
How crazy is his recruiting? You have a great back and forth with Nelson Stewart, who is his head football coach down there at Newman. And Stewart has seen a lot of guys come and go, Odell Beckham, Eli, just to name a few. And they've had, they got current players on this roster that are being recruited at a high level. How different is Arch's recruitment in talking to Coach Stewart?
Well, obviously it's much different than Eli and Peyton, who came out before the advent of social media. Their recruitments were not anywhere near as hyperbolic as this one is going to be in the 24/7 world that we have of coverage now in college football and high school recruiting. What's different, I think, also about Arch's situation is that the family has anticipated this and has very much managed the process. There are basically rules of engagement with the coaches that are recruiting Arch. I mean, they know the Manning name, obviously, and have great respect for that family. So they know it's a different recruitment, and no one is stepping outside the lines that have been set forth by the family and by Coach Stewart. So I think it's been managed about as well as it can be. But here's the thing, Jordy, that I think makes this such a unique situation. The two kind of legacy programs, if you will, Tennessee and Ole Miss, both of which, got Eli and Peyton Manning. Both those programs have what I would consider to be uphill climbs in getting Arch Manning. And that Tennessee obviously has hit hard times. They've turned over a bunch of coaches. They really haven't been relevant in the SEC East in a long time. And Ole Miss also, because of the NCAA probation, they've been rebuilding, haven't really been a factor in the SEC West. So I think it really opens up his recruitment to everyone involved. Now, having said that, they're pretty far along. I mean, coaches have been talking to Arch for months now. And I think you can see, if you read the story, there's about 12, maybe 15, but probably more like 12 schools involved. And when he says he's wide open, he means that. In other words, of that group of 12 to 15, he's considering them all, and really there is no favorite. So he's wide open in that regard, and I think that's what's made this thing interesting is there is no lean. Even LSU, who I think he's very interested in and is right down the road and has 2 commitments from his teammates, I think is considered just one of the mix because we know the history of the Mannings with LSU, and I think other coaches know that and see this as a wide open recruitment.
Yeah, A.J. Johnson, the wide receiver, and Bo Bordelon, the offensive lineman, are 2 commits to LSU and very close to Arch Manning as far as friendships go. Not only are they teammates, but they're friends as well. One of the lines in the story that jumps out is the impact that Joe Brady made on Arch just 2 years ago, and that Ed Ogeron has handled Arch's recruitment from day one. What's the feeling that you get around LSU and where they stand, and just how smart of a guy was Brady in seeming like in talking to Arch and his crew on the impact that Brady was able to make in just a very short window in discussions of recruitment during that time period?
Well, I think it says all you need to know about LSU's dedication and importance that they placed on Arch's recruitment, and that in the opening scene of the story goes back to summer of 2019. But this was before Arch Manning was even a freshman at Newman. He'd yet to really play a game as the quarterback. He was at a 7-on-7 camp out at the Ponderosa, LSU's practice facility, and they had the entire offensive staff out on the field talking to the Manning family, basically a welcome wagon, letting them know how much it meant for Arch to be there. This was not a high-profile camp per se. There weren't a ton of elite prospects at it, but everyone knew that Arch Manning was there. And this was, again, before his freshman year he'd ever thrown a pass in a game. I think that tells you all you need to know about what Ed Ogeron thought of this commitment, this recruitment, and Arch Manning. And Joe Brady was front and center there talking ball with Archie and Cooper, letting them know they were going to be a factor in his recruitment and really wanted him. So, and it hasn't slowed down since then. I mean, Ed Ogeron went to Newman School a week after they won the national championship on a recruiting visit, and the purpose of that was to have a, quote, bump in. As you know, it's illegal to have gone there to see Arch. Yep. But we all know what happened there. He made a point to come there and run into Arch Manning so he could be the first coach to shake his hand. That was his freshman year. So we can see the pattern of LSU and their commitment, and I think they've got a great shot. Everything I've heard is they've done a remarkable job of building a relationship with Arch and Cooper, Ed Ogeron, Jake Peets, DJ Mangus. The entire offensive staff has worked this hard, and if they do not get Arch Manning, it won't be because they did something wrong in recruiting him, because they are doing a tremendous job.
With the ties to Joe Brady and LSU bringing back, like you mentioned, DJ Mangus and Jake Peets, do you think that LSU can still rely on Joe Brady as almost like a person to kind of swing out LSU as in favor of Arch? Can they still rely on his ear?
Well, I think it had something to do with obviously why those two were hired. I mean, the connections to Joe Brady and trying to resurrect the offense and attract other quarterbacks, whether it's Arch Manning or not. Obviously, he's the Moby Dick you're trying to bring in, but I think more importantly, how this offense performs this season is going to go a long way in determining if LSU is in say the final three or so among the finalists for Arch Manning. He's going to be watching everything they do this season offensively. I can tell you the Manning family, using their NFL contacts and networks, they are leveraging that. They're talking to NFL offensive coordinators to find out how well the quarterbacks that come out of certain colleges on Arch's list are prepared by the time they get to the NFL. I mean, that's how in-depth and thorough they are taking this. So no stone's going to be unturned. And just like LSU is going to be, I think, under pressure, I say under pressure, there's going to be a lot of the evaluation in their offense this year. Same thing at Texas with Steve Sarkisian coming in there. They're going to be watching Texas's program to see how they perform offensively, because they're going to want to go somewhere that's going to provide him the best possible vehicle to make it to the next level. There's no question that's a huge part of their evaluation process.
You have great access to the Mannings, and you have in the write-up that Arch spent a weekend in Denver with Peyton learning how to break down film. How much in your in your suggestion do you think that Peyton will have an influence on this? And have you ever watched film with Peyton? And if you have, what is that process like?
Yeah, I've not done that, Jordy. It would be a blast to do. I've done it with Drew Brees for the book that I wrote, and it's amazing. I'm sure it's very similar to what Peyton does, the attention to detail and the thoroughness and evaluation of the defense is mind-boggling, frankly. It blew my mind just how thorough those guys are at that level. As far as influence, I don't think it's going to be as much as people think. The way I look at it is, I think the influence will be this way. They're not going to allow Arch to make a bad choice, but they will not influence his final choice, if that makes any sense to you. Yes. They're not going to let him go somewhere that they don't think is a good spot, but I don't see any bad choices in his final list of 12 or 15 schools. They all look like you could make a case for any of them to be good landing spots. And a kid of this level, I personally believe he's similar to like a one-and-done elite basketball recruit, in that he could probably go just about anywhere, and he's going to be successful at getting to the next level. I mean, that's how talented I think he is. So, in other words, if he picked Virginia, I think at a school that good, even though it's not a traditional blue blood in football, I think he'd still be good enough to get to the next level and be successful. But trust me, they're going to evaluate every part of every program, offensive coordinators, offensive systems, in making that decision. And there'll be a lot of input from guys like Peyton because of their connections, and it'll be a resource and a sounding board for young Arch.
I know you mentioned in the story, or he mentions in the story, that he'd like to have his decision made by this time next season so he can go through his senior year with just some calm and some relative quietness. So in that being the goal for him, doesn't that make this summer probably the pivotal summer? Doesn't that mean that this summer is probably the one that'll ultimately make the choice of his experience that he's about to embark on?
Well, I think this summer for the schools this month, I mean, he's going to be going to Clemson here in a few days to camp there, but he's going to schools here in this month that he's not familiar with. He knows LSU. He knows Ole Miss. He's been on those campuses multiple times. So this is kind of a fact-finding mission for him and his family to visit the schools he doesn't have experience with. He hasn't seen and stepped foot on, and meet the coaches that he hasn't met. So I understand that's part of the process. But then I think this fall is going to be very important too, because they're going to try and get out. Like, he plays most of his games on Friday night. They're going to try and get out. They have the means through private charters to get to schools very easily on a Saturday and see what it's like on campus for game days, what the atmosphere is like at games at these schools, and what the environment is like on campus. I think that's going to be as important as this next month. And I would say by the end of his season, he's going to be ready to make a decision. It might last a few months later, but I don't think he's going to draw it out. I think one of these schools is going to start popping out to him for whatever reason, and I think he's going to pull the trigger just to end, the process, because it is going to get really intense, I think, after a long year of recruiting.
It will make for a great Manning passing academy in just over a month down in Thibodeau. I guess you anticipate like every season, the who's who, but without it being there last year and maybe the touch of Arch being around, there should be major buzz around the academy this season.
Oh, no question. And also, let's throw in the fact that they missed the camp a year ago because of the pandemic. It's the 25th anniversary.
Wow.
I know the Mannings, I think, are having a documentary filmed, so there'll be cameras there every day. No doubt about it. This is going to be one of the more anticipated camps we've seen in that prestigious academy's history. And they really turned that into an event down there. Yeah. It's certainly different than the first few ones I covered when it was all the way over in Hammond. It's now become a prestigious kind of must-do in the middle of summer for everyone in the local media here. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how the players compete against each other, too, when they have those skills competitions. That's always fun.
Last one, Jeff Duncan from The Athletic, who's got a very busy morning, totally off topic. Jeff, should I be as annoyed as I am watching the Memphis Grizzlies in the playoffs and expecting that's where the Pelicans should be?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Jordy. Those two programs kind of mirrored each other, right? You had a elite player taken 2 years ago, John Morant, number 2, Zion, number 1, and the fact that Memphis has been able to build around Ja with really probably less resources than New Orleans has, I think should be disturbing and disappointing to Pelicans fans. And certainly, I think if you're a Grizzly fan, you have to feel very optimistic about how things are going. Their young general manager, Zach Kleeman, has done a tremendous job there. And David Griffin knows that last season was unacceptable. And there's a lot of pressure on him and everyone else in that front office and the coaching staff to get this ship righted this year. A ton of pressure coming from the top. And it'd be a surprise if they do not make the playoffs next year. But next few months, huge for this organization to get it right, to bring the players in around Zion Williamson, to give him and his group confidence that this organization is headed in the right direction. It's a massive next 2 months for David Griffin.
Jeff Duncan is a must-follow on Twitter and on social media. He is at Jeff Duncan _ is also worth a subscription to The Athletic to keep up with the inside information that he can give you, whether it be on the Saints, the Pelicans, or stories like this on the recruitment of Arch Manning, which is a must-read, a great in-depth write-up on the number 1 quarterback in the 2023 recruiting cycle, who's got the last name of Manning and resides in New Orleans, Louisiana. Thank you, Jeffrey, as always. Enjoy the rest of the day.
All right, Jordy. Take care, buddy.
Yes, sir. See you, man. There's Jeff Duncan checking in from New Orleans this morning in what is a great write-up. Lloyd and I read it this morning before we went on the air. There are quotes from Nelson Stewart, who is the Newman head football coach. There are quotes from Cooper Manning. There are quotes from Arch Manning. And there is insight on all the schools that seem relevant. And this is the pivot point for Arch Manning's recruitment right here in a couple of days.
How does he keep his head?
He's got a great team around him. If you read the article, you can see the gate that has been built around Manning, and it is very rare that anything touches him. He's not on social media.
Okay.
He's not on Twitter. He runs an Instagram. He has an Instagram account that is private that he manages just for really friends and family. And then there is there's a window of time each day that they allot for college coaches to call, and Nelson Stewart, who's the head coach at Newman, is overseeing and scheduling that. Now, Stewart said that he had to buy another cell phone. I mean, he had to get a totally different cell phone and hand it out just one direct number of how this is, call me if you need to get in touch with anything concerning Arch. And they've got Zoom calls set up for lunch periods, and then the longer Zoom calls go on at his house in the evenings. But he's talked to everybody, and he's had in-depth conversations with everybody. He is obviously enjoying this process here on the front end, but it looks like it could get very old very quick.
I wouldn't enjoy that. That just seems awful.
Well, just the beginning of it would be, just because you're in demand and people want your time and people want to talk to you, and you're talking about fielding calls from Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and Ed Ogeron. I mean, the who's who of college football.
You have to be on all the time. How long do you think that lasts for him? When he gets to college, he's not going to have the same oversight that he has right now in terms of people being able to handle these sorts of obligations for him.
Oh, I think that there will be a built-in team on his college campus. There will be certain members of the sports information department that are probably just assigned to Arch.
Yeah, but you don't have to listen to them like you listen to family.
Oh, you're talking about his consult?
I'm talking about when he's gonna at one point he's almost like a homeschool kid. It feels like in terms of like
sheltered.
Yes, he's so sheltered, and when he gets on campus, dude, there's a chance that he's like, I kind of get a chance to breathe here for a second. So I'm wondering if that's even an opportunity at all for the family that they should be concerned about.
It's a good point. I don't know, and there's no reference to that inside of the write-up. In just speaking with a couple of people that I know close to the situation or close around Arch, Randy Livingston, his high school basketball coach, he's very much a normal kid is what you can take away from it.
That's what I'm saying. So he's going to want to go do stuff.
Yeah, but I think he already does.
Okay.
I think that, he's a New Orleans kid.
He's out.
Right? I mean, like just by the environment and just by the climate of the culture there in New Orleans, he's been out and experienced some stuff. I mean, the stories of Eli Cooper and Peyton are
get after it.
Absolutely. I mean, there are tales as long as days of party stories of those guys coming out when they're that same age. Now, no social media, no recognition of the national prominence that Arch is already experiencing as a sophomore in high school. But I think that the closer you talk to people around him, the very much you learn that he is a normal kid. You know what I mean? He just has he's got a very,
just a very close knit family, and
he's got a very highlighted skill set to play quarterback. I mean, he's different than all of them. Have you seen him play?
Yeah.
I mean,
he can move.
He can move.
Yeah. He still rocks the Peyton sleeves and the Eli sleeves, which is not a good look, but he can move. I mean, he's got athletic ability, and it's a totally different skill set than when you think of the other Manning, like the prototypical Manning quarterback.
But when he stands up straight in the pocket and he delivers a throw, he looks like Peyton.
Yeah.
Yes.
He looks just like Peyton.
He's Peyton that can move.
He's Peyton with athleticism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to discount Peyton Manning's athleticism. I mean, anytime he can play that amount of years at that level, I mean, he's a good athlete.
But when he goes out the pocket, you don't see him as a threat.
No, and Arch is. Yeah. Arch is. And he can throw the ball on the run. He's got a strong arm.
Make a guy move.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens here in the recruitment. If you read the piece, I would just tell you this. And I encourage you to go read it. And I don't want to give it away. It is great as far as just the in-depth recruiting and how this process is working for Arch and his people. My takeaway is that Clemson is the leader going into the summer, and he hasn't been there yet. He's going there in a couple of days. But just by off of these Zoom calls and these conversations, is that Clemson is the leader. LSU seems like they're outside looking in right now.
And he doesn't want to say it.
And Alabama's the dark horse.
And that makes me think Alabama's, the way their quarterback class is set up, you have Bryce Young for 2 more years, and then Arch gets to slide in and maybe
less run.
Yes. It's the same with Clemson. Like, as soon as DJ, the quarterback they have now, like,
as
soon as he's gone.
Way to take a shot.
As soon as he's gone.
Arch can slide in and play
right in freshman year.
Yeah,
and that's where LSU is on I guess on the outside looking in. Walker Howard's going to come in. He's by all intents and purposes,
he's the guy.
He's the guy. So it'll be like if Arch isn't afraid of competition, but I'm just saying in terms of LSU, you're set up in a nice spot if you don't get him.
And LSU's also set up in a good spot from a recruiting standpoint, where you've got Eli Holstein at Zachary in that same class, and I'm telling you that the name to watch out of the 2023 group is Ricky Collins at Woodlawn in Baton Rouge. Ricky Collins in Baton Rouge at Woodlawn is a guy that is flying under the radar, maybe not as much as he was a month ago because of what he's doing on the 7-on-7 circuit. He's playing for Rohan and those guys at F3 Elite, and I'm telling you, he is big time. He is big time D1 prospect that within the 2023 class, yes, Arch, Eli, all those guys get the, they get the shine. But Ricky Collins is a name to watch out for that, not necessarily is, I don't want to sell him as a fallback option. I think that he is as good of an option as those 3 cats. They all three do a little something different and do it well. But I think Collins is in that group and could be a name to watch as far as the 2023 class goes at quarterback over at Woodlawn, just because he's got a –
Oh, my God.
I'm telling you, dude.
That's just wow.
I'm telling you, man. Nobody, for whatever reason, is talking about Ricky Collins, and the state of Louisiana has never seen this.
He's got 4,000 views on his huddle with that arm. What?
I've never seen this, and I've been covering high school football really since I left it, so 20 years. I cannot remember a cycle that has the quarterback skill set and just ceiling that the 2023 group has. Obviously, Arch is the guy. He's the number one guy that everybody's talking about. Eli Holstein at Zachary started last year as a freshman and can whip it all over the yard. He was a sophomore last year and has a strong arm and can make a lot of the throws and is growing and continuing to develop down there with Coach Brewerton at Zachary. And then Ricky Collins with Marcus Randall here at Woodlawn in Baton Rouge, I'm telling you, is a name that you've got to keep an eye on just because his talent is too good. For whatever reason, and there are a lot of them out there, of COVID, exposure, all of that stuff that goes into it. Ricky Collins is about to make a huge splash this summer.
He's a basketball player too.
Yes, he is.
We played him my senior year.
Yes, he is. And he could. What was he? A freshman then?
Yeah, he's a freshman. He started varsity. He was probably their best all-around type of player on that team. He's an
I
athlete.
think he's just 170. He's just got to fill into that frame.
He's got 2 years, bro.
Yeah.
He's got 2 years. And really and truly, when you're talking about from LSU standpoint, he's got 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There would be no expectation for a guy like him to come in and make an impact until his redshirt sophomore season.
Then he could play 1 year and bounce, which is crazy to think. But that's what makes me the whole recruiting for the quarterback position is changing right in front of our eyes. Like, you have to almost guarantee at least even a freshman to come on and give them an opportunity to have playing time. You know, because they can bounce, they can sit for you for a year and then transfer.
Yeah, it's like the only position in football that kind of represents the one and done in basketball.
Yeah, I think
where
it's
you
close
can
to-
come in to college already being ready. Because other positions, there's not really, you can go straight to the league already, except for like Stingley's like that only non-QB guy.
I'm trying to think of a skill player like that. They're like, yeah, this guy's just going to go to the
Other than quarterback, there's really not a position where they can go straight to the league.
Not in the way that it's just the rules don't allow that. But yeah, quarterback is a position that you can have a 1 year splash type season.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, I mean, you're a
Mac Jones,
you're a
Joe
top 10
Burrow.
pick.
Yeah.
I mean, who was Mitchell Trubisky?
Yeah,
Oof.
1 year.
I mean,
Number
year
two
wonder.
pick.
Number 2 pick. I mean, number 2 pick this year out of BYU.
Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. I mean, he wasn't even the starter in fall camp. Going
He's a
into
nobody.
competition. He's a second pick in the draft. So, yes. So keep your eyes on Ricky Collins. Great stuff from Jeff Duncan. Get over and follow him at Jeff Duncan _ where you can follow him on social media, as it is a great in-depth look there at Arch Manning's recruitment. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by RMB Builders. Rhett Bourgeois and his crew at rmb-builders.com. Get in touch with the crew over there at RMB. They can help you with a custom design home. They can come in and remodel anything that you may need done around the house. If you got problems from the flood that came through here a couple of weeks back, like we're experiencing, and RMB is helping us out. They have been just instrumental along the way in helping us with communication and setting us up with subcontractors and making decisions on getting things up and getting things moving. And they've been fantastic. Rhett Bourgeois and his crew, rmb-builders.com. Any project you need done around the house, if you want to remodel, if you need to do custom design home, get in touch with RMB Builders, as Rhett and his crew can get you taken care of today. rmb-builders.com. We'll be back and take your food questions as we talk to the chef, Jean Paul Bourgeois, here on the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.com to learn more.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
Taking your food questions here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember our guy, Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois, South Louisiana native. A great follow on social media as well. You can hit him on jeanpaulbourgeois.com, but on Instagram is really where it is, and also very personal. I mean, he comes in, gives you some chats, gives you some recipes, talks to you about what things are going on. And as we highlight here every week on the Jordy Culotta Show, Chef lives a pretty cool life, man. As a longtime chef up in New York City and now traveling the country with his beautiful wife as they see all over. They've been to Clearwater, Florida. They've been to the coast on the East Coast in South Carolina, and now they're down in Austin, Texas, and get ready to pack up and come home for a couple of weeks to South Louisiana. Chef, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing?
Doing good today.
Sure.
Man, we after like 3 days of really bad rain, it's got a nice cool morning here in Austin, and I don't know, man, it's been hot in between those rains, and yes. I remember what summer in the South starting to feel like again.
Chef, a different heat, right, over there in Austin? Is it more of a sun heat that, I mean, you can't really run from it?
Yeah, I think it begins to get that way like this time of year and on for a couple months, but really it's felt a lot like Louisiana since I've been here.
with a lot of humidity. I think just because they're getting more rain than normal, and then combined with that big Texas sun that's just on you all the time, just produces some pretty Louisiana-like humidity. You know, the ones you have to chew before you breathe it.
Absolutely. Inhale.
Chef, we have a northern transplant down here in his first Louisiana summer. Do you have any advice for him on how to handle it?
Get a car with the remote start so you have to get AC on
that's
before,
a great piece of advice.
Yeah. Big investment.
That is, but worth it. But worth every penny of it. I didn't think about that.
Touching hot steering wheel. Oh, God.
Just melted to the seat.
Nothing worse than a car parked on a blacktop in July.
Yeah. Yeah, in my case, like, be okay with breast sweat, you know, when you just from walking to your car, you know, like,
That's right. Little dad bod sweat for you here on a July morning. You're coming home to South Louisiana. What's the first thing you want to eat when you get home?
Oh, man. My first thing I say is just, hold on, I'm going to have to go inside here because the lawn guys are here. I guess, you know, I'm probably going to be a po' boy, and it's only because I can't – it's really not recreated well in most other places of the country. And the reason why is because you can't get the right bread, and not even I can get the right bread in most places of the country.
Really?
And so it's hard to recreate it myself. So I would say probably that will be the first thing I eat, although – that would be the first thing I want to eat, although it might not be the first thing I do eat because I am probably going to go home, like, to my parents' house, like the first stop before I make kind of a 2-week permanent residence in Louisiana.
Why the bread? Why can't you get the bread all over the country? And what makes the bread specifically great? I guess I'm so blinded by it and don't know when I don't get good bread. What is the difference?
Well, there's, I believe, City Bakery, and there's Leidenheimer Bakery. Leidenheimer, Leidenheimer is the one that you might see distributed throughout the country through big broadliners like Cisco or U.S. Foods. But as far as going to your grocery store, stocking shelves, that bread doesn't exist. The closest bread that exists to po' boy bread, a good po' boy bread, is Cuban bread, the bread they might make a Cubano with. And a lot of people use them interchangeably, but there are slight differences. The po' boy bread compared to a Cubano bread is a little thinner, crispier, like paper thin crumb on the crust. But they have the same lighter, like light, airy internal, dough, together where, like, if you think like a French baguette, right? It's a thicker, crustier crust. It's a little denser interior. The diameter of the bread isn't right for po' boys. And that's why you don't hear people making baguette sandwiches too much because it's hard to bite through and you get like a torn roof of your mouth when you bite through it. Well, po' boy bread is just the opposite. It has that thin paper crust. It's soft. It's light. It's very chewable. You can feel a lot in it. And so it's hard to just find that bread, you know, that style bread.
You mentioned that you're going to your parents' house first. Did they chef it up for you, or like do you get to relax on the couch, or are they cooking for you?
No, man. I go home and I cook. It's like my mom thinks of it like that. They're like, Jean Paul's coming home.
Choose your words wisely.
I'm gonna put you in a tight spot there. Put him in a box. Right. Let's get some McDonald's and call it.
My damn mom, man.
I don't mind it because I'd be in the kitchen anyway, cooking with them. It's one of those places I can't stay out of no matter who's cooking. I may not be leading the charge every night if I'm at a person's house and we're having a dinner party or something, but I'm in the kitchen just like helping out where I can, even if I have to like cut some onions or do like the little work chores in the kitchen. So that's where I feel at home. So
if you see somebody making a mistake in the kitchen, do you pop up and be like, whoa, let me help you out here for a second?
No, I don't. If they ask me, which, you know, really people do ask if I'm kind of in the room and they're cooking and I'm happily.
You're like a doctor at a party.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't, you know, the Argentines have an interesting kind of look on this. And the Argentines, especially the men, they're really big cooks, but they cook around the grill and the asado and all that stuff. And they look at it that the person around the grill is the king of the house, and you don't mess with the grill, you don't stoke the fire, you don't move anything on it, you don't ask questions unless so on and so forth. And I think when I look at somebody's kitchen and somebody's home and somebody's meal, I look at it a lot like that. Happy to give help or advice, but it's your drive. I'm just riding in it, you know?
Chef, you've now traveled the world, traveled the country here recently, and coming home to Louisiana. What is it? Because when you talk to anybody that lives outside of the area that has either experienced the culture or is from the state, or specifically South Louisiana, what is it about the cuisine? What is it about the food, other than just the choices, the seafood, the names? What is it that makes it hit you the way that it hits people? What is it about the taste that makes people that it makes it everlasting?
Yeah, I actually think it's a lot more than the taste, and it has a lot to do with kind of the historical origins and the lineage of Cajun and Creole food in South Louisiana. And everything in that I-10 and South is this super hyper local regional cuisine, which doesn't exist anywhere else in the country. Obviously, that cuisine doesn't exist anywhere in the country, but cuisines like it doesn't exist anywhere in the country. Not that small, not that precise, not that just flooded with history and food and culinary and the world coming in and putting their culinary bones in that area. I mean, think about places like Maine, who have this great seafood culture, lobsters, clams, clam bakes, and so on. But really, that happens in Maine, Boston, coastal New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware. It's a huge region of the country that is really, has that. Or if you think about Western Texas having Tex-Mex and what that Western Texas cuisine combined with Mexico and chicken fried steak and so on, that exists, but it's not as defined as Cajun and Creole, which exists in this little sliver of Louisiana. And I think once you get down here, you have people that live here, have grown up here, love the place, that they embrace and they live within that food, and that just bleeds through when you eat it down here. And I think there's a reason why Cajun food changes as soon as you get up to, Lake Charles and above, and it's not quite the same in Mississippi, and it's not quite the same in Beaumont and Houston, even though they have good kind of Cajun cultures bleeding through there. And I think a lot of what people taste when they come down to Louisiana is just centuries of foodways developed through families and recipes at these certain spots in South Louisiana. And that's something that you just cannot get anywhere else in the country. You find it a lot in places around the world in these old civilizations, like in the Middle East, or like in Southeast Asia, or like in France and Spain. And it's no wonder, because a lot of those places immigrated to make the food of Louisiana anyway. So I think it just has a deep-rooted history in food, and you really taste it, not just through what you're putting in your mouth, but the people you're around, the stories you tell, the architecture, and so on. And there's a lot of ways you can be a part of the food just by being in South Louisiana itself.
Good morning, Chef. Quick question for you. Which city is the pizza capital of America?
I mean, if it's not New York City, I think I don't know how it's not New York City in terms of the pizza capital of America. Now, some people may say New Jersey or even Connecticut, because they have great pizza cultures as well. Sure. Yep. That's right.
This is a Connecticut native that's asking you that question.
So I love New Haven pizza. We've spent a lot of time up there because my wife and I like to go antiquing, and we always went to Brimfield, we always went to Brimfield like 2 or 3 times a year, and we'd always stop around New Haven at Pepe's to get their clam pie, and that's one of my favorite pies in the country, probably. But that's what I would say about pizza culture, pizza states, or whatever. Like, though, you can get great pizza in a lot of those. Even Rhode Island has some great coal-fired pizzas and stuff like that. You know, it'd be one thing if you found these just great pizza culture in this little sliver, and I would say that's a true, like, regional, hyper-specific cuisine that is right there, but that is all in that area. And it's debatable. When it comes to Louisiana and Cajun food, it's not debatable where the best Cajun food is. You know what I mean? Right. It's just, it is what it is, and you'll never kind of compete with that. But from a New Haven guy, I would say I can totally see how New Haven or that Connecticut area would be competing with New York City in terms of the pizza state or pizza capital.
What is your ideal slice of pie? Do you like them thick cut, thin slice, charred bottom? What's your go-to slice?
Yeah, so ever since living in New York, I'm a sucker for a New York slice, and what I always order well done because they just leave it in the oven for 30, 45 seconds longer just to get a little bit more char on the bottom, a little more blister on top with the cheese. That's what I like. I also like to get a little side of marinara sauce or pizza sauce on the side, like in a little cup, just so when I get to my crust, I can dip it in there. That's my move. But mostly it's going to be, I mean, out of my New York years and traveling around that area, obviously if I have to buy a pie, I will. But cheese slices are kind of like an iconic kind of thing to do in New York City, and how I would judge, if you will, if I have the right to judge pizza being a Louisianian. A great pizza is by a great cheese slice, and just going from there.
What'd you eat on Memorial Day?
Memorial Day, we had I had grilled Wagyu filet mignon, some marinated pork tenderloins, some boudin from Billy's,
Nice.
some grilled vegetables, and 2 different salads. That's what we had for Memorial Day.
God bless America. Safe travels home.
Oh, I was going to ask you, do you go smoked boudin or do you go just OG style?
No, I go OG style, and Billy's is my joint, man. I've done boudin tours. Like, my dad and I one time hit 15 different places from Thibodeau all the way to Scott and around and back. Wow. All through those little parishes. And there's a lot of great boudins, and they're one's better than the other, like marginally, right? But Billy's just the one that I crave. I love Billy's OG boudin.
Safe travels home, Chef. It will be good to have you back in the state of Louisiana. And was that really the first time you hit a golf ball on Instagram? Because you smashed it.
Yes, sir.
Natural, dude. Natural. Little cut. No, nothing wrong with that. Play that thing. Drop the
no, that's no lie, man. No lie. Anything I know from a swing is by like watching golf on TV, which I don't do that much, and really like playing Tiger Woods golf on Xbox 360 in college. Like that's all I do. Somebody was like, "You're standing too far." Dude, I was putting the ball in the middle of my feet. So I was like, I just thought, kind of like by playing baseball, you hit the ball kind of in the middle of you.
Right.
But that's not the case with
the driver play that
golf,
thing
apparently, which I didn't know. So I didn't even. Yeah, I was going right in the middle, like with my belly button.
That's so. I'm taking your theory to the kitchen. I saw Chef cook, so I can cook.
do it.
I'm cooking it up tonight. It looked beautiful, bro.
Newfound hobby.
It was fun. I would totally go do it again. It's just in Louisiana we didn't have a whole bunch of golf like in the 80s and 90s. It's not like we had a whole bunch of golf courses like in Thibodeau or in Houma. Like they didn't really exist, and I didn't know anybody that golfed, so I just didn't grow up doing it. It's not like I don't like the sport. Shit, I think it'd be fun to cruise around the golf course drinking beers for 4 hours and hitting balls around this yard. Like, I mean, that's what it is to me. So,
right.
but I have no problems with that. I might have to get into that.
Thibodeau, they see a golf course and they say, make it a rice field.
Yeah. We can hunt there.
That's right. That's too much open land. All right, Chef, have a safe trip home. We'll talk to you next week, hopefully in person.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.
There you go. Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois checking in this morning. Make sure and check out all of his stuff like Spiceology and Duck Camp Dinners and everything that they have going on over there. It's easy to find it in one central location at jeanpaulbourgeois.com. That conversation brought to you here by AdvantaClean. Remember, ADVANTA clean.com. Bradley Lynch and his crew, spectacular through this process of going through the flood a couple of weeks back. And AdvantaClean, I had told you about some of the testimonials that I have heard in working alongside AdvantaClean. Now I've got the AdvantaClean experience, and it's better than I could really have expected. That phone call that you have to make, or that waking up to water in your house, water on your carpet, the smell of mold or fire or smoke around, you think to yourself, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do? And just one phone call later, it's all taken care of. And that was to Bradley Lynch over at AdvantaClean. It's easy to find all of the contact information online if you need it at AdvantaClean.com. But if you want to get in touch with Bradley this morning and call his crew, dial him up, 225-369-5228, 369-5228. Tell him you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Tell him that you heard about my experience, and I can tell you that it has been flawless from start and really, still in the middle of it. It's fantastic. He was here yesterday at the house picking up a couple of dehumidifiers and some fans that he had going on over here and trying to dry out what was happening. So online, AdvantaClean.com. AdvantaClean. Good stuff today from all of our guests. Appreciate Jeff Duncan and Chris Reid for stopping in earlier in the show. Of course, Jean Paul Bourgeois. We gave our reaction to Arik Gilbert, who has settled in, and it looks like he's going to be enrolled at the University of Georgia. So it will be cool to keep up with some of the stories here in the summer around recruiting, as recruiting is in full swing. And we talked to Jeff Duncan about that, about Arch Manning and his recruitment.
What about football's video? How about that?
That was a great hype video.
That one up.
Oh my
goodness! The LSU hype
5
video
minutes of
was
glory.
fantastic.
Did it instill a little bit of confidence in you boys for what the upcoming
back
LSU
in the video
season?
department?
Yes.
Yeah.
Back in the video department for sure. I didn't know if they could exist without our boy
Stouty,
without Will Stout, and it looks like they are back.
They had some awesome transitions. It was like the old TV set, and then it zoomed in the tight.
It was excellent, dude. If you're putting out a 5-minute banger, you got to know that how much work went into that. To edit that thing up for 5 minutes is a testament to how hard they worked on that thing, because everything was very well done.
I love the Ogeron hello.
Yes.
Talking on the phone.
Dude, that's how you know things were good to laugh.
Yes, that was good.
Hello.
Yeah, that was great, man. All right, good stuff for our entire crew here. I think Katie is expected back on Thursday. I think she's coming back tomorrow. So we should have a full crew here at the UDL.
You won't be able to tell that she went to the beach because she's always tan.
She is. She's got the natural built-in tan. Lloyd, Noah, the crew, Jack, and Jordy Culotta signing off here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, all of our stuff is podcasted, brought back to you by RMB Builders. Check them out online, rmb-builders.com. Enjoy this Wednesday.